hello or hola. If you don't know what that means hello in Portuguese. And it's not long now until the Ryder Cup. Who's excited? Me. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Portugal because it's still 2 weeks away and we still don't know what team we're in, and I'm still getting as giddy as heck. So what are we here today to talk about? We are here to talk about the 5 P's, or as the thumbnail shows, the 6 P's. So some people know it as the 6 P's, but because obviously I'm too much of a lady, I call it the 5 P's. Stop laughing. I know that's not true. So because it's filthy wet outside and I can't get out of the course, I thought I'd just do this little idea that I've had for a while, just to kind of get it out there. Might get people thinking a little bit, and might get people to change how they're doing their planning coming into the new season. So the 5 P's, I have my notebook, I have notes, because if you've seen some of my previous vlogs, I do tend to waffle and I kind of go off on tangents and then I kind of forget where I am and then I waffle some more. So I thought this needs to be a little bit more structured, so I'm keeping some notes and we'll go from there. I've also got my cup of coffee because I need a cup of coffee. So if you don't know what the 5 P's are, it means proper planning prevents poor performance. Now, I think it was taken from a lot of business models use it for the 5 steps to success. So when you sort of break it down, you can actually use it for any part of everyday life, including golf. So I do a lot of these as second nature because I'm quite an organised person, and I don't like things being disorganised. I don't like not planning for things. You know, it's got to be structured. It's got to be. I'm not a killjoy by any stretch of imagination, but I need things to be structured, organised. I need to know what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it. So it kind of suits me to do this by second nature. So if you think about it, like you'll hear people talk about in the work about risk assessments, and we all know to a degree how boring risk assessments can be. But every day in your life, I can guarantee you will do a dynamic risk assessment without realising you're doing it. For example, if you're going to go across the road, or if you're driving and you're pulling out of a junction, for example, you don't just step out from the curb onto the road and go, do you? You will stop, left and right. If there's no traffic coming, then you will go. You have then done a dynamic risk assessment in your head because you're looking for risks and hazards. And it's something that you do as second nature. You don't realise you're doing it. And it's because it's been drilled in from such a young age to look out for safety, look out for hazards, look out for risks that are going to cause you harm. Now this is the same sort of principle as in things that you will do in everyday life, but you may not bring it together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the 5 parts of the proper planning prevents poor performance, and just sort of give you a brief, almost an analogy of what you could translate that to in everyday life, and see if actually you do it. I mean, you might do, but it might be something that you can also incorporate into your golfing routines, and how you set yourself up to not just taking a golf shot, but how you're actually going to organise yourself for the new season and beyond. So look first at the first one, which is proper. So I have got a website that I found and I thought it was quite interesting, and it just basically talks about what each one means. Now when I hear the word proper, I just think of Yorkshire, and it's proper, I tell you, it's proper. So if you're not from Yorkshire, it'll just go straight over your head and you'll think, what the hell is she talking about? But those that are from Yorkshire, it's just a Yorkshire word, proper. It's proper, isn't it? So proper means, regardless of what you are doing, there's a proper way to approach and execute a task, which I'm sure you all know. So, for example, how many of you, if you've bought a flat pack piece of furniture, have ripped the box open, got everything out and tried to build it without the instructions? Probably quite a few of you. I wouldn't, because it's not the proper way to do it. The proper way is to use the instructions. That's what they're there for. So if you haven't used the proper way of doing it, you may well have got to the end of the pack and had far too many spare pieces, or you might think halfway through this piece doesn't go right because you've put under the board on the wrong way around. You know what I mean? There's certain processes in place for a reason, to make things easier and quicker for you to do. So that's just an example of doing something proper. Flat pack furniture, So I've got an itch. I hate it when you've got an itch. So if you apply that to golf, you wouldn't just turn up one day and say, right, I'm going to play golf. So I'm going to go into the nearest woods, grab a stick and grab a ball and I'm going to hit it, because that's not the proper way to do it. You need to look at, right, okay, I'm going to play golf, so I need to think about how I'm going to play golf. How do you play it? Where do you play it? What do I play it with? Who do I play it with? So the proper way of doing things, and it's just thinking about how to execute your plan of playing golf. So your first task is proper. Then we move on to the second part, which is planning. Now I'm sure, again, you've all planned things in your life and just done it off the cuff because it comes naturally to a lot of people. For example, if you're going to go on holiday, you won't just get in the car and go. If it's a road trip, you need to plan maybe your route. I know we've all got sat nav these days on our phones or the cars or whatever. Back in the day, when you had the big AA Atlas and you had to look on all your plans at A to B and plan which roads you were going to go down and which way you were going to turn off, and maybe you had to look at that where your service stations were for filling up with fuel or for getting food or whatever. So you're planning your trip. If you're going abroad, you need to plan which airport you're going from, how are you getting into the airport, are you parking, which terminal are you going to, how many suitcases are you going to take, how many are you allowed to take, have you packed it, who's packing it, when they're packing it. And obviously there's a lot more to going on holiday than just saying I'm going on holiday. So to put that into your golfing, if you're going to, again, you've decided you want to start playing golf, right, so you need some clubs. What clubs do I need? So I'm going to go to a club shop or a sports shop and I'm going to say, right, I want to play golf, what do I need? And the people in the shop will, if they're any good, will say, right, we're going to try on a few different clubs, try on some different, different shafts, different heads, whatever, different makes, and see which one suits you best. But obviously you don't want to start out with anything too expensive, but you want something that's going to set you off as a beginner. So that's your planning. You're planning on how you're going to play golf. You might also want to plan where you're going to play golf. Do you live near golf courses? Do you know other people that play golf that you can go and actually learn to play with them? Can you plan when you're going to meet these people? Do you need lessons? Is part of your next season, right? You want to improve, so how can you improve? What are you going to plan to do to improve how you're playing golf? Right, I'm going to plan to have lessons. I'm going to have 6 months worth of lessons, and in that time I'm going to then reevaluate, see where my handicap is, see where my strengths are, see what I need to improve on, and just see how you actually, how your journey of golf is coming along. So you'll do a lot of these things without thinking about it, but it is part of the 5-step process. Which brings us on to prevents. Now, prevents, it's a bit of a tricky one to try and put into golfing terms, but right, just to revert back to planning, if I was going to have a dinner party, for example, I need to plan how many people are coming, what night I'm having it, what drinks I need to get in, what starters, mains and desserts I'm going to cook. So that's my planning of my dinner party. My prevents for the dinner party is, what if something goes wrong? What if I burn something? So I need to have a backup plan. Maybe something in the freezer that I can just pull out and chuck in the microwave or something. So in terms of golf, your preventing is, do you have a backup plan? So it can be going back to lessons. So you've got somewhere that you want to go and have lessons, but the pro's booked up for 3 months. What are you going to do? Are you going to wait 3 months for the pro? Or are you going to think, right, okay, I need to start asking around here and I need to find out what other professionals are available within a certain radius of where I live. So your plan B is looking for an alternative professional to teach you to play golf. It can be golf clubs. What if your golf course is closed? I mean, God knows we all know that for the last 3 months with this amount of rain we've had. What have you been doing for the last 3 months? How have you been preventing not playing golf? So it might be that you've travelled a bit further to a golf course that's got a better drainage facilities. It might be that your backup plan is always you'll go and practice your routines or your technique at the driving range. So you're always thinking about your backup plan, you're preventing not playing golf, if that makes sense. So we've got 3 P's out of the way. The 4th one is poor. Now, you can kind of take this in a few different ways, but I think at some point we've all played poor golf. But it's not kind of relating to how you're playing it. It's all about if you're doing things properly, and if you're putting your plans in place, and if you're doing your preventions, as in you've got your backup plans to ensure that you're continuing on your golf journey. In theory, the outcome so far should not be poor. If you're not planning, for example, you're not planning on your golf lessons, or you're not getting decent golf clubs that you need, or whatever, then you're going to feel a bit rubbish, and it's going to lead to a poor situation because you're not playing your golf. You're not rectifying some issue that you've got in your game. And it's all about just trying to keep the flow, keep the momentum going, because as soon as you hit that poor stage, you feel rubbish, like we all have the last 3 months if we've not played, and you kind of get a bit down and out, and then you can't be bothered, and it kind of spirals out of control a little bit. So your first 3 stages are about trying to avoid the poor. So let's have a look at what this girl on here says about poor. And it's true what she says, if something is done poorly, why bother? So if you're not planning properly, why are you bothering? What's the outcome of your golf going to be if you're not planning? Back to your dinner party, if you don't plan it properly, your guests are going to leave. Maybe it's hungry if you've burnt it and you've got no backup plan. If you've not planned it properly, they might not enjoy the food, they might not come back, you might lose friends. Well, you're not going to lose friends, it's a bit dramatic. But, you know, it could end up in a bit of a disastrous night if you're not planning properly. So it's avoiding that poor situation. Anyway, the final one is performance. So again, in theory, if you followed the first 3 steps leading to a not poor situation, you should have performance. Now, we're not saying that if you follow all the steps that you're suddenly going to become a scratch golfer and you're going to be out on tour, but you're putting plans in place to improve your performance, your abilities, and I think that's what golf's all about at the minute. If you're not a scratch player, I mean, I suppose even if you're a scratch player, you're still striving for that perfection. You're still striving to make sure that you've got consistency in your shot, and that you're not letting one part of your game slip because something else is going particularly well. It's all about keeping your momentum going. So the 5 steps of success is about ultimately your goal. See, my long-term goal would be to be a scratch player. Now, that's not going to happen overnight. I know that. Even if I follow these 5 steps, I'm not going to be a scratch player overnight. But I need to consistently do these 5 steps. I need to consistently get my lessons, improve my techniques. I need to plan how I'm going to do the improvements. I need to plan for future. When I do get better, I'll need better clubs. So I'm planning for that now, in terms of I know it's something I've got to do. I don't need to do it now, but it's part of my long-term plan. So overall, if I can get to a scratch player, then my performance is up there. I've hit my goal. That's my task. So yeah, it's just about planning. And I say a lot of people will probably do a lot of these things anyway. So I just think it's a case of, if you do, carry on, and maybe see if there's any areas of improvement. See if you can improve how you're doing your planning. Make it more streamlined. Make it a little bit slicker. Make it a bit more cheaper, potentially, quicker, easier, I don't know. And if you're not doing these things, try and implement them. But there are 5 steps of success that you can implement in any part of your daily life. So it's worthwhile noting them, and maybe try and 1 or 2 out, you know. Certainly the flat pack, if you do your flat pack, do not start properly with your instructions, because it all goes wrong. So I hope you've maybe picked a few tips up from this. I know it's not particularly a golf vlog as such, but I think sometimes it's just nice to mix the channel up a little bit, throw a few curveballs in there. I mean, not everyone's going to like this, but as I say, you might pick up the odd tip or 2, and and you might not, but you know, who knows. But thanks for watching. If you have stuck with me this far, thank you for sticking with me. Thanks for watching this. Drop me a comment below. You might have your own analogies and you know, interpretations of the 5 Ps. I notice I didn't say 6 Ps like on the thumbnail, because I think we all know what that is. And obviously, as I said, I'm too much of a lady to say such things like that. But no, hope you've enjoyed it. See if you can get these things as part of second nature, so that you do them without thinking about it. And let me know how you get on. You know, if there's any part of your game that you have improved by implementing any of these five Ps, let me know. I'll catch you next time. See you later.